I've been doing like a fake German accent so long that everybody in my family hates it. And it's probably the funniest thing like I've ever done lately. Ever done lately. Yeah. I don't know. I'm reading the Havamal. Havamal. The Cowboy Havamal, yes. By Jackson Crawford. I don't like reading shit by Jackson Crawford because I think he's kind of. Oh, am I gonna go on online and say that? Hold up. As somebody who's been around the like Norse pagan community since like the early 2010s, right? Online, mostly online. It is. I don't know how to explain this. I don't like Jackson Crawford, and I can't put it. I can't. I cannot put it. Like I can't tell you why I don't like him. But I don't. So like I'm on my Kindle, and so whatever, blase blase. But I don't know. There's something about him. I remember watching some of his first YouTube videos and just being like, there's something about him I don't like, and that's fine. That's really fine. But I purchased some of his books at first because I was like, okay, whatever. Like back in 20, 2019, 2020, maybe. I don't know. It's been so long ago. And then I sold them to Half Price Books for gas money because I just did not value them. And that might be harsh, but I don't fucking care. And so, whatever. Um, but I did also let go of some decks that I did value. It was really tough. 2020 was really horrible. And yeah, yeah. Recently though, I've been kind of a part of this one kindred, and I like how they explain people who are associated with such gods, like different gods and goddesses, that you could really tell the person's like internal climate, like their internal pathology based on the kind of gods and goddesses that they gravitate towards. And I think that, yeah, that's like nail on the head kind of thing. I was recently in Goodwill and I walked up to a woman, and I don't ever do this kind of shit in person, so this was kind of strange for me. But I walked up to a woman who had a Loki tattoo, and it was in old runes, whatever. And I said, I like your tattoo. And she was like, freaked out kind of and whatnot. And I ended up, I didn't mean to. And I was like, no, 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 I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like freak you out. Cause she like started like, she looked like a raccoon in a corner kind of, like if you've ever seen a cornered raccoon, they get like, oh, or like a cornered wild animal. And I know what that looks like in someone's eyes. So I felt very fucking stupid for pointing it out, but I was like, no, 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 and I pulled up my sleeves and I was like, I have tattoos as well, and I was like, oh no, I'm a friend, and she was like, you know who Loki is? You know who Loki is? And I was like, yeah, and we kind of hit it off, and I was talking about, how, it's really weird down here. The community is very strange for Norse pagans because it's like split. It really is split, and it's split in a lot of ways. Like some people are just fake Norse pagans, like they call them LARPers or whatever, and that's fine. Or they're, well, I guess it's split in more ways than I'd like to admit. Some of them are white supremacists, and those guys can fucking kick the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Like they're losers. It's just disgusting. Like they look like the fucking kids from what do you call it? Schnitzel. What is it called? The Hoodwinked. They look like the kids from Hoodwinked, and they're just white supremacists, and they're fucking gross. They don't even know anything about the gods. They just watch Vikings too much, and they also support certain agendas. And so it's like you're not even pagan. You're just like submissive and gross and disgusting. And then there's then there's actual people who are like more academic with the Norse paganism or paganism in general. And there's people who worship the gods, and there's people who work with the gods, and then there's people who follow the gods, and then there's people who are friends of the gods. And it's just really weird once you kind of like start observing observations within the pagan community, online and offline. They influence each other. Mostly the internet influences the community more because that's how we all talk, and so we take things from each other. We take and borrow. The takers take and the givers give, you know. And then we have a culture that's created, and it's very confusing. Some of it's lies and misinterpreted information. Some of it is, scholars not wanting to give an out, and other, it's like boots on the grounds people that were born in certain places in Scandinavia and whatnot, doing independent research and old family stories and histories and stuff like that. And so they have more of a real folk tradition, and they try to openly talk about it. And then scholars from like America will come and shit on their stuff because they went to college. Because, oh, I went to college, sound like fucking Plankton or some shit. It's just really, really embarrassing and ridiculous. But I don't like people who are too proud. I feel like pride is good to, in some some pride is good. Yeah, right, of course. But other circumstances, pride is like a cringe so I don't like it so much because it's gross. Because I think we all have something to learn. At every second of every day, we all have something to learn or to take away from something, or to experience and grow from, or get rid of and share and whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm here on my bed with my Havamol. And yeah, I'm trying to get to sorry, I just ate some mac and cheese that I threw a bunch of onions and hamburger meat into. Anyways, I'm here on my bed going back through this. And it's just yeah, it's very interesting. I need to get some other books, but using my Kindle for this one because it was cheaper, and it has it's fine because I don't really want the physical book for this book in particular, so whatever. Um yeah, I I think it's beneficial to read books, all kinds of books, not just self-help books, but also books on history, books on the past, not just history, but also the past. Because I know that sounds weird, but the history and the past sometimes can be two separate things. One of them can be manufactured, the other one can be misinterpreted, falsely remembered, falsely written down. You know what I mean? So I feel so very interesting to have to like, I guess with the internet, right? With the internet and McGraw Hill books coming out, finding out who wrote the McGraw Hill books that my generation grew up on. And just kind of following. Yeah, there's just been lots of misinformation everywhere, all the time. And so who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? It's very difficult to sit there. We could argue about like, and it's okay to argue like back and forth and being like, this is true and you're wrong, and this is true and you're wrong, and this is true. But like, I feel like history is kind of like this oil, slick in water, where it shapes and forms in different ways, and it has many different colors, and it catches lights in a certain way, but it never fully mixes with the water. And so we find ourselves each having an interpretation of what the oil looks like within the water at certain moments, right? And all of them are true to some extent, and all of them are interpreted through our individual biases to some extent, and then relayed to each other. But it's difficult to say what is and what isn't. So, in a way, it really doesn't matter. And in another way, it does matter. But I don't know, just like using something like that to treat people like shit, like using history or your interpretation of it, or how the masses recorded it in order to treat people like shit. It reminds me of like when the Romans came over to fight with the Picts and the Celts and the Druids or whatever. And they were like, "Oh my God, these assholes are sacrificing people. Aren't they shitty? They sacrifice to gods and this and that. Isn't doesn't that make them stupid and like fucking idiots?" And the Romans are like, "Oh my God, what a bunch of dumbasses! Like, why would they do that? We should definitely go get them because they're so different than us." All the while, Romans were doing the exact same thing. They were accusing the Picts, the Celts, and the tribes, the Germanic and the tribes in like over there, over yonder. They were accusing the tribes of these very dehumanizing things, which the Roman people partook in daily. And then the Roman people believed the propaganda of the government. And they're like, yeah, we should go over there and take their land and do something and like get rid of them, teach them lessons or something. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Or something like that. And so that's like an example of propaganda taken too far. It's like so weird. Another horrible example is like somebody takes a shit in a porta potty, takes a picture of it, and shows somebody, and then blames it on someone else, and they're like, "Can you believe this shit?" Literally, then everyone's like, "Oh my God, I saw that too. I can't believe that." And it's like, I don't know. There's just tons of misinformation and propaganda, and it doesn't stop, and it's just like mushing us and smushing us and not in a way that we want. And so it's non-consensual mushing and smushing. um yeah, it's very angering. Yes, it's very aggravating, and trying to have a real life conversation with people is also very difficult. Sorry if I spit difficult. It's very difficult. It's very difficult and frustrating because also the content that you're devouring and consuming daily, which we all are. These books, the ebooks, the Kindles, the actual books, Instagram reels, TikToks, videos on YouTube, music, media of all sorts are being influenced by some sort of propaganda, whether left or right, good or bad, stinky or farty. It's all the same thing. It's all propaganda. And like it's very difficult. I think for somebody who has a brain like the way my brain works, when you notice things, it gets very like you have like if you have a sense of justice like I do, you're like, hey, that's wrong, and we're not supposed to do wrong things, and that's not okay, and you can't do that, and you shouldn't be able to do that. And they're like, well, there's a law saying that we can't stop doing that. And then you're like, well, who put the law into place? That's wrong. Then you must be a bad guy. And they're like, actually, it's the goodest of guys who put the law into place. And you're like, then he's not a good guy. I don't give a fuck how many accolades he receives. If he's like some powerful this or that and has all the money in the world, I don't give a fuck. You say he's a good guy. A title and a position does not equate to goodness. And it's just not on this fucking earthly plane. You know what I mean? Like, I got into an argument the other day with the police chief's daughter, and it was a multi day argument, basically ending in me telling her that I don't give a fuck that you're a privileged woman, because I used to have to stand in line at the food bank just to survive and get food, and I'm sure your daddy's position like helped you receive some kind of privilege and security in life, which is great for you because I want us all to win in some way or shape or form. But I don't give a fuck who your daddy is. I don't give a fuck who you are. At the end of the day, a title does not equate whether you are good or bad. Just because you're a police officer or a doctor or a veteran, it doesn't mean that you're technically a good person. I mean, if that was true, then we wouldn't have all of these vile, insidious priests. Because, oh, you're a priest, you're supposed to be a good person, and yet we see that their actions are doing completely separate things. So yeah, I think it's stupid when people say they back the blue and they're like, "Oh, even if the blue did something bad, I would still back them." And I'm like, "Number 1, you're the biggest piece of shit and the dumbest fart bubble I've ever encountered encountered I've ever encountered in my life. You're telling me you're just going to submit to somebody so blindly? You're a dog. What's because they feed you? They don't even feed you. They're not the ones feeding you. We feed them. But our taxes go to. What are you talking about? Even if they did do something bad, I wouldn't post that on my page because I still back them. I've gotten in some crazy arguments over the past couple of days with people, and it's insane. You know what I mean? You could point out until the cows come home, um, inconsistencies and truth and things of that nature to people who are blinded by their loyalty, their misplaced loyalty. It's crazy. I cannot. That's like people are so loyal to um well, some pretty dumb things, but then you have to accept number one, maybe that's a part of their life lesson to be a loyal scumbag to a fucking whatever. So that has nothing to do with me, right? And so you have to back off. You got to stop taking it personally and being like, oh man, well, these assholes are just loyal to a piece of shit person. Well, what does that have to do with me? Well, they're a majority making a lot of noise, this and that, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you know where you stand, you know what lines, you know the line in the sand, where you stand, and even if that line gets pushed back, you know who you are to some extent. And then we have the um cowardice here in, well, at least in America. We have so many people are cowards, and a lot of men, and women too, are uninitiated in their own psychological ways. Like they're not initiated people, they're cowards. They consume and fuck and eat and reproduce and shit, but they are not brave. They're cowards. People can have children and still not be initiated and they can still be cowards. And people, I was explaining this to someone and I was like, well, for instance, the uninitiated male will go from woman to woman to woman and claim to be a player and then claim to be some kind of man. And at the same time, he is the biggest pussy because that's all he does is chase it around. He chases what he is. He's a giant fucking pussy. And instead of accepting the consequences of his actions or inactions with one woman, he hides from his actions and runs woman to woman to woman, right? Is a coward. He's a coward, and that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, he's chasing um, a fleeting feeling because um, he cannot accept his own death eventually, and what his life is, and how he is causing such difficulty for other lives. And people are saying, "Well, I'm a father. I'm a man." Or I'm 30, I'm a man. Or I'm 60, I'm a man. If you are a fucking coward, you're not a man. I know more men that are women that are men than men that are men. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But it's an initiation into sacred masculinity. Just because you have a dick does not mean that you are a man. Because I have seen plenty of men who are actually bastards and cowards, who will not stand up for what's right, who will not face the consequences of their own relationship failures and successes. Men who will hide behind, you know, um, their addictions instead of facing them on. I think that just lately I've noticed there's been a lot of people who are cowards, and that's a huge issue I have. I have a huge issue with cowards. If you are the mayor, or if you are a police chief, or if you are a teacher, or a preacher, or somebody, a manager somewhere, somebody's father, your grandfather, great grandfather, I don't fucking care. If you are a coward, I have a problem with you. My problem is I don't like you. I don't like you. I think it's shameful and embarrassing, and it's not something I fuck with. Um, yeah, yeah, that's about it. I'm very open and vocal, and I'm always no, that's a lie. I haven't always been open and vocal, but for the things that matter, I have been open and vocal. And at the end of the day, I guess what it is. It's that we, we all start off as children and we're all scared. And there's nothing wrong with being scared because the world's kind of fucking scary. Okay, it's kind of fucking scary. You say the wrong thing and you could get thrown in jail. I didn't realize that people in the UK do not have free speech. In certain areas of Europe, free speech does not exist. So I didn't know that. I'm from America, and furthermore, I'm from Texas, and so, I'm a Texan, and so, Bowie knives and all, David Bowie knives, Bowie knives, and so, guns, knives, all these things and whatnot, being loud and proud, and rah, 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 So, perhaps, oh, it's installing an update on my Kindle. Perhaps it's just my loudness and my brashness and my stupidity comes from the environment I was raised in, the nutrients in the soil here, the air quality, maybe perhaps the propaganda that we are pumped full of in South Texas, right? Because it's region to region. You know what I mean? Each region has its own, targeted ads, so to speak. Um, but I think that just lately I've been having a huge issue with people who are cowards, people who are running from something. Like there's been men who will run from child support, so they lie about their wages so they don't have to pay for their own kids, and that's also a form of cowardice. Things of this nature. And just I think that 100%, maybe not 100, maybe 85% of what's wrong with the Western world is that we have cowards in office. We have cowards who have done atrocious things. It's a fact that they've done atrocious things in the name of their own selfishness in their younger years, and it comes back to catch them now. And instead of admit openly that they have indulged in some of the most disgusting things, they will hide it, lie, and engage in all kind of warfare, and send us all to the slaughterhouse instead of them looking in the mirror and being like, yeah, I am a fucked up person. I was a fucked up person. Like, people have the power to change. I really, truly do believe that. If I believe John Wayne Gacy, he was baptized in prison and changed his life, or some shit. Was it John Wayne Gacy or Dahmer? Who was it? Was it both of them? People, they changed, like, significantly, okay, in the prison system. Now, would you ever trust them again? No, absolutely not. At the same time, you gotta have some kind of, like, wow kind of factor to somebody who admits what they've done. I think one of them admitted what they did, and they still, like, they blamed it on the devil, which is cowardly. And the other person said, yeah, I did it. I accept my consequences. I did it. I want to be absolved of my stuff because I did it. That's the difference. To accept that, like, oh my god, I've been a piece of shit person and I did all of that, and I know I did, and that's fucked up, and I'm sorry, right? That's something that we're lacking in the Western world. We're lacking in especially in the people in positions of power here. They're like, oh, they would rather us believe that anything, that alien civilization is gonna come here and put, Fitbits in our asshole than it ever admit that they indulged in some of the most heinous, darkest, cruelest aspects of humanity. And also that what they did as a human contributed to humanity in any way, shape, or form, like in a good way or a bad way. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's so much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much to contemplate. And that sucks. That really sucks. A lot of things suck. A lot of people suck. A lot of people in positions of power suck. And people are like, oh, well, what are you going to do about it? They should be doing something about themselves. Why is it the masses' job to wipe the ass of the 1% whenever they fuck up? I don't understand that why we have to fucking collectively, as billions and billions of people, we have to go and clean up their shit. When they shit on the walls of their house, we have to go clean it up. I don't get that. I don't get that. It's like the world, we have seeds, fruits, and vegetables, and permaculture lifestyles that involve life and death cycles that are ancient and they work. They work because that's how the earth works in these cycles and these rotations in these phases. And they work, and you can have infinite food with these proper cycles. And they come and they break every chain in the link. They break the cycles and they reroute them. They reroute the cycles to their parasitic, selfish greed. And it's gross and it's disgusting and embarrassing. You can tell a lot about a person based upon what they consume and overindulge in. And I think that also addiction to social media is us running from ourselves, us running, like for me especially, when I am overly consuming social media and looking at everyone else's lives. It's because I don't want to do work on my own. So I'm saying from a personal perspective, it's because I am being a coward. I'm not looking myself in the face. I'm not being like, hey, your mom died and this is that time of year she died. And so, you're struggling with your codependency and being the adult child of an alcoholic who has also passed away and left you all of this grievances and anger and self doubt and all these things, right? So I am running from myself by overindulging in content online. And is it pathetic to some extent? Yes. Yes, it is. But it's important for me to look at it and go like, damn, that's exactly what I'm doing. And you can pay people tons of money, thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours to go to therapy, get on medication, run from yourself, hide from yourself, just to come back fully in 2 or 3 years to yourself and be like, hey, I'm still here. Are you going to do another fucking round the world in 80 days bit? Or are you going to face yourself and be like, hey, you feel bad. You feel bad because a bad thing happened. And so, how are we going to move forward, adapt and improvise and overcome these things, right? How are we going to do that? Myself, and then also collectively, you could change, changing addiction. It starts day by day, second by second, minute by minute, something like that. um Something cool like that. And so it takes baby steps every day to solidify and crystallize and reform and make these beautiful shapes within our lives that are more solidified and crystalline and real anyways, it's just lately that's what I've been thinking about. I've been contemplating how there's a lot of men in this world who are not initiated. And I'm not talking initiated like they went to college and raped a bunch of girls and joined a secret society and killed some people and sacrificed somebody or some shit. I'm not talking like that. I'm not talking that initiated. I'm talking about initiated into sacred masculinity. Not toxic patriarchy, but sacred individual masculinity. It's something that is missing from the Western world. It really is. And there is a toxic femininity that I'm not even going to get into right now that has overcompensated. It's had to overcompensate for such toxic patriarchy. You know what I mean? Well, maybe you don't know what I mean. And maybe I'm not explaining it as well as I should be. And it's because I'm a person and I really suck at this shit. And I'm not a fucking professor. But there are tons of professors who also are stuck in those loops of toxic, you know, the toxic patriarchy and believe in toxic femininity. And so we have all of these toxins within our environment. It's creating an anti permaculture um, cycle, and it really sucks. And it will eventually lead to our destruction. If it keeps going, or individually, we can kind of like figure it out. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out now. With like, I've been really getting into um, animism again and Norse paganism, and also like diving into Arthurian legends and just trying to understand, like, from our past, what did it mean to be a man? Like, what did it really mean to be like masculine or masculine presenting, or even to be a male god in some way, shape, or form? What that mean? What did that mean? How did they benefit society in those days and ages? Like, why were they venerated? What was important then? Because in some way it has to be important now. And I feel like we're all lost to some extent, at least the masses. And I've been I've been hanging out with the masses lately, and a lot of us are cooked. A lot of us are fucking cooked. It sucks, and it's so easy to get pulled into that fucking group of fish and just be angry and vile and violent and confused and add to the loud gnashing of teeth And it really fucking sucks. It really sucks. And part of it, I do think, has to do with Abrahamic religions taking away the veneration of spirits, gods, the land, the sun, the earth, the things that make cycles cyclical, the stars, the seasons. We took away all of the importance of what made life work on earth. And then we gave it to one guy who watches you touch your wiener and a dude who died on a fucking giant lowercase t. And then we wage wars over which Abrahamic faith has the most Abrahamicness in all of it. And it's really fucking lame and pathetic. And I'm over it. I'm like really over it. It's stupid and I'm done. And there's so much more out there. There really is. There's so many more gods, goddesses. Even like if you look, just point your nose towards the east and start doing research. Just research. Just start indulging in, well, what's this? What's that? What are those stories? What are these stories? What are these tales? You know, you could view them, if you are Abrahamic, you could view them as myth, just tales, you know. And in the church, we're brainwashed that if we even learn about Vishnu once, or we learn about Krishna once, or we learn about Pan once, or we learn about the Green Man once, or we learn about Odin or Thor or Frey once, that is a door that'll open and allow Satan in. If you learn, you will go to hell. That's what they teach you in the church. As somebody who has been brainwashed since I was a child, that I am the reason the whole planet, you know, as a girl with the vagina, it's my fault, the whole planet, you know, because Eve gave Adam a fucking apple, so it's my fault for breathing and existing. That's why pain happens. That's why when you have a baby, it hurts because you did this to us. That's what they teach us when we're like 5 years old and they fucking dunk us in a vat of lukewarm sludge water and put us in a white dress. They teach us that. You must die because it is your fault for living. You must die for this God who hates you and would fucking kill you if he got the chance to. And it's like, what the fuck? But he loves you. Oh my god. I saw this motherfucker on Instagram. They had a Bible that was tabbed every time God had somebody commit genocide or something, or every time God did a plague, every time he like killed the whole family off just 'cause he felt like it, like every time he made an example of somebody, like they tabbed it, and there was like, oh, these tabs. They could go to any orange tab and pull up a genocide, and it was like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's very it's dangerous. But yeah, so anyways, lately I've just been kind of getting back into my little pagan ways, back into permaculture, and that makes me happy, and it doesn't make me feel so dead because it resonates with me in some way. You know, and you know, people can argue, well, what do you know? Not much, but I think that's a good place to start off with admitting I don't know much. And then we could start from there, you know. People will shame you for not knowing things. So, oh, you're stupid. Well, can I learn? Can you teach me something? Well, I don't know anything either. Oh, so you're just as fucking stupid as me. So why are you telling me anything? You know, and then you go into the next person. What do you have to teach me? And then you accept what they give, and then you leave what you can in exchange, and then you figure it out and you go forward, you know, until you have something at least figured out. And I think it's really important. I wander wounded, and there are lots of people who do that too. Like, we're just wounded and like torn up from the planet and the earth, and it's really important that we find whatever's inside of us outside of us. You know what I mean? Find some kind of holy resonance that keeps us here and helps the collective. So, good luck on your wanderings, and I'll be wandering too.